The vast, deep blue of the ocean holds creatures of immense scale and, for some, immense value. For centuries, these waters have been both a source of awe and a battleground for those seeking fortune. Among the most coveted of oceanic prizes is the giant shark, a formidable predator whose lineage stretches back millions of years. Historically, these creatures have inspired both fear and fascination, their power and mystery woven into the legends of seafaring cultures. In the modern era, the capture of a single giant shark can represent a life-changing sum of money. Imagine a creature weighing hundreds of kilograms being hauled from the depths. Its monetary worth can exceed $50,000, a figure that has only grown as global demand for shark products has surged. This staggering figure transforms the shark from a mere animal into a floating treasure chest. The economic impact of a single catch ripples through fishing communities, supporting livelihoods and fueling a high-stakes industry. The global shark trade is a complex network, with sharks harvested, processed, and sold on international markets where demand remains consistently high. The industry is driven by the value of shark fins, meat, oil, and even teeth, each component destined for a different market and purpose. While other marine giants also hold value, the shark stands out for the sheer diversity of its uses and the intensity of the pursuit. The process of harvesting a giant shark is a meticulous and dangerous operation, requiring specialized knowledge and equipment. It begins long before the boat leaves the harbor with careful planning and preparation. Fishermen must outfit their vessels with reinforced lines, steel leaders, and massive hooks, capable of withstanding the power of a thrashing shark. The crew reviews safety protocols and checks every piece of gear, knowing that a single failure could mean disaster. The hunt itself is a test of patience and skill. Crews set out before sunrise, scanning the horizon for telltale signs, surface disturbances, seabird activity, or the shadowy outline of a shark below the waves. Baited lines are set in strategic locations, often using fresh fish or other attractants. The waiting game begins as the crew monitors the lines for any sign of a strike. When a giant shark takes the bait, chaos erupts. The line snaps tight, and the battle is on. Fishermen work in coordinated shifts, using winches and brute strength to tire the animal, careful to avoid the razor-sharp teeth and powerful tail. Once subdued, the shark is hauled aboard, its immense size dwarfing the men who brought it in. The catch is measured, documented, and prepared for processing. The entire crew must work in unison, using ropes, winches, and sheer determination to secure the prize. Every step is calculated, every movement deliberate, as the risk of injury remains high. Specialized equipment is essential. Winches lift the massive body, while heavy gloves and protective gear shield the crew from injury. The process is physically demanding and mentally exhausting. The ocean itself adds another layer of danger. Storms can arise without warning, and the presence of a giant shark on deck only increases the stakes. The potential for a $50,000 payday creates a powerful incentive, pushing men to venture into challenging environments and engage in a dangerous dance with one of the ocean's most efficient predators. Once ashore, the shark is quickly processed, fins are removed and sorted, jaws and teeth are cleaned for sale, and oil is extracted from the liver. Each part is destined for a different market: fins for soup, meat for consumption, oil for industrial use, and teeth for collectors. The economic impact is immediate. Local markets buzz with activity as buyers negotiate prices, and the most valuable parts are packed for export to distant countries where demand is highest. On one hand, there is the cold, hard cash of the global marketplace, where fins, oil, and meat are traded like any other resource. The profits can support entire crews, fund new equipment, and sustain coastal economies. For the men involved, the rewards are tangible: wages paid, debts settled, and the promise of another season on the water. Yet the risks are ever present, and the line between fortune and disaster is razor thin. These high-stakes harvests create a complex and often fraught relationship between humanity and the great creatures of the sea. Regulations, quotas, and conservation efforts add further layers of challenge as the industry balances profit with sustainability. The pursuit of this bounty, driven by economic necessity and the lure of a massive payday, sets the stage for a dramatic and often perilous interaction on the world's oceans, a test of skill, courage, and endurance that has defined generations of men who make their living from the sea. The remarkable value of a large shark is revealed through a painstaking process of disassembly, where every single part of the animal is harvested and put to use. This approach, rooted in both tradition and modern industry, ensures that nothing is wasted and every component finds a purpose, whether as food, medicine, luxury goods, or industrial material. Each part of the shark is destined for a specific market, and together they contribute to the overall economic value of the catch. This comprehensive utilization is a testament to the ingenuity and resourcefulness of those who process these ocean predators. The shark's fins are perhaps the most iconic and valuable part, prized for their use in shark fin soup, a dish with deep cultural roots in many Asian societies. Shark fin soup is not just a delicacy, it's a symbol of status, prosperity, and respect, often served at important celebrations and banquets. The tradition dates back centuries, and the presence of shark fin at a table is seen as a gesture of honor to guests. The demand for fins is so intense that they can represent up to half of the shark's total market value. Fins are meticulously sorted, graded, and sold at premium prices both locally and internationally. This single body part has fueled a global trade, creating a powerful economic incentive that often overshadows conservation concerns and drives the continued harvest of sharks worldwide. Beyond the fins, the shark's meat is a major source of income and nutrition. In many coastal communities, shark meat has been a staple for generations, valued for its firm texture and high protein content. The flesh is carefully graded by quality and texture. Premium cuts are reserved for upscale restaurants and export markets, where they are served grilled, stewed, or smoked, while lower grades are processed into fish cakes, jerky, or canned products for local consumption. In some regions, shark meat is also preserved through salting or drying, a traditional method that extends its shelf life and allows it to be traded over long distances. The sheer volume of meat from a single large shark, often hundreds of kilograms, makes it a substantial product, supporting both local economies and international trade. Butchers employ specialized techniques to maximize yield, ensuring that every edible portion is extracted and prepared for sale, reflecting a tradition of efficiency and respect for the animal. The shark's liver, sometimes weighing tens of kilograms, is another valuable asset. Historically, shark liver oil was used as lamp fuel and a source of vitamins in coastal communities. Today, the liver is prized for its rich oil content, especially squalene, a compound with significant value in modern industries. Squalene extracted from shark liver oil is a key ingredient in pharmaceuticals, cosmetics, and even vaccines, making the liver a sought-after commodity in both health and beauty sectors. This oil is used in moisturizers, dietary supplements, and as an adjuvant in vaccine production, connecting the shark's biology to products found in homes and hospitals around the world. The extraction and refinement of shark liver oil is a lucrative business, with the product shipped globally to meet the demands of multiple industries. Even the shark's skin, once considered a byproduct, is now highly valued for its unique properties. The tough, sandpaper-like skin is tanned into shagreen, a luxury leather used for crafting wallets, belts, watch straps, and even decorative panels and book bindings, a practice dating back to ancient times in both Asia and Europe. The shark's skeleton, made entirely of cartilage rather than bone, is also harvested for its unique properties. Dried and ground into powder, shark cartilage is marketed as a dietary supplement, believed in some cultures to support joint health and even as a traditional remedy for various ailments, though scientific evidence remains debated. This all-encompassing approach means that from the tip of the fins to the internal organs and skeleton, every part of the shark is commodified, reflecting both ancient traditions and modern commercial practices. The principle of total utilization maximizes economic return, reinforcing the shark's reputation as one of the most lucrative catches in the ocean and connecting its fate to a vast network of markets, industries, and cultural traditions around the globe. The hunt for a giant shark is far from a simple fishing trip. It is a test of grit, strength, and sheer willpower, played out on the unpredictable stage of the open ocean. Before the first line is even cast, preparation begins at dawn. The crew checks every piece of gear, knowing that a single weak link could spell disaster. The boat is loaded with reinforced rods, industrial-strength reels, and lines thick as a man's thumb. These are not creatures that surrender easily. Stories circulate among fishermen, tales of sharks that dragged boats for miles, of lines that snapped like twine, and of men who returned home empty-handed, their arms trembling from the effort. The men targeting these apex predators must equip themselves with highly specialized and robust gear capable of withstanding the immense power of an animal that can weigh as much as a small car. This includes massive forged steel hooks designed to pierce the shark's tough jaw, hooks that have to be sharpened by hand, their points tested against leather gloves. Heavy-duty steel cables or thick reinforced lines are unspooled and checked for frays. These lines must resist the animal's desperate attempts to break free, and every knot is double-checked for strength. Ordinary fishing equipment would snap in an instant against such force. One old-timer recalls a night when a rod shattered in his hands, the splinters flying as the shark vanished into the black water. The struggle begins the moment the shark takes the bait. The line goes taut, slicing through the water, and the boat lurches as the animal dives. What follows is a grueling contest of endurance that can last for many hours. There are stories of men locked in battle from dusk until dawn, their hands blistered and backs aching, refusing to let go. The shark will use its incredible strength to dive deep, pulling against the line with a force that can threaten to capsize smaller vessels. One crewman remembers a night when the boat nearly rolled, saved only by quick thinking and teamwork. The fishermen, in turn, must work together with precision and strength, managing the tension on the line to gradually tire the animal without allowing the cable to break or the hook to dislodge. Each man has a role, one on the reel, another on the gaff, a third watching the water for the first glimpse of the beast. It is a physically draining and mentally taxing process, requiring constant vigilance and teamwork. Sweat pours down faces, muscles burn, and the only sound is the groan of the reel and the crash of the waves. A single mistake, a moment of inattention, can result in lost gear, a lost catch, or even serious injury to the crew. There are tales of men pulled overboard, saved only by the quick reflexes of their mates. The danger is palpable throughout the entire encounter. Even as the shark tires, it remains unpredictable. A sudden surge can send gear flying or snap a line. A thrashing shark, even one weakened by hours of struggle, is an unpredictable and powerful force. One fisherman recalls a time when a shark, seemingly spent, exploded into motion, nearly capsizing the boat. Its tail can deliver bone-breaking blows, and more than one man has left the deck with bruises as proof. Its legendary jaws can inflict devastating injuries. There are stories of sharks biting through thick ropes or snapping at the boat's hull, leaving deep gouges in the wood. Bringing a live or recently deceased giant alongside the boat is one of the most hazardous moments of the hunt. The crew must be ready. One wrong move and the shark could thrash free or injure a man. The crew must work quickly to secure the massive creature, often using ropes and winches to gain control. The winch groans under the weight, and every man is alert, ready to leap back if the shark surges. The sheer weight and size of the shark make every movement a calculated risk, with the rolling waves of the sea adding an extra layer of instability and peril to the entire operation. This intense confrontation between man and beast highlights the profound respect and fear that these predators command. Many men, even after a successful catch, stand in awe of the creature's size and power. The fishermen who engage in this work possess a unique set of skills passed down through experience, learning to read the animal's movements and anticipate its actions. They share stories and strategies, each encounter adding to their hard-won knowledge. They are not simply harvesting a resource, they are engaging in a primal contest that pits human ingenuity and perseverance against the raw power of nature. Every battle is different, every victory hard-earned. The successful capture of a giant shark is a testament to their skill and bravery, but it is a victory that comes at the cost of great physical risk, and an understanding that the ocean's most formidable hunters do not yield their lives without a fight. For these men, every battle on the high seas becomes a story, one of danger, endurance, and respect for the mighty creatures that rule the deep. Once the monumental struggle at sea concludes and the giant shark is brought to shore, a centuries-old ritual begins, one that has been refined and passed down through generations of fishermen and butchers. The first step is the careful preparation of tools. Laid out on the sand are long, razor-sharp knives, heavy cleavers, bone saws, and sturdy hooks, each with a specific purpose in the butchery process. In many fishing communities, the butchery is performed directly on the beach, a tradition rooted in practicality and necessity. The tools themselves are often handed down from father to son, their blades honed over decades, their handles worn smooth by countless hours of work. Transporting a creature weighing hundreds of kilograms is a logistical nightmare, so the butchery is done where the shark lands. Time is of the essence. Processing the shark on site preserves the freshness and quality of the meat, fins, and organs. The open beach provides ample space for the team to work, and the proximity to the sea allows for easy washing of tools and shark parts. Buckets of seawater are used to rinse blood and tissue from the knives, a ritual repeated after every major cut. The spectacle draws a crowd of local men and boys, eager to witness the ancient art in action. The event becomes a communal affair, with elders sharing stories of legendary catches and younger generations learning by observation. The process itself is a masterclass in speed, precision, and tradition. The butchers begin by making the first incision behind the gills, a move practiced countless times. An older master often guides a younger apprentice, demonstrating the correct angle and depth for each cut. The team works in perfect synchronization, each man knowing his role and moving with practiced efficiency. Long, gleaming knives are used to slice through the tough skin, while heavy cleavers break through cartilage and bone. The butchers know the shark's anatomy intimately, tracing muscle lines and cartilage with their fingertips before each cut. The first cuts are made with confidence, opening the thick hide to reveal the prized flesh beneath. The fins are removed with clean, deliberate strokes, separated for their high value in international markets. Every movement is calculated to maximize yield and minimize waste, a principle that has evolved over centuries. The shark is not simply disassembled, but methodically deconstructed, each section destined for a specific use. Meat, fins, and organs are separated into distinct piles, each carefully handled according to tradition and market demand. The work is physically demanding, requiring immense strength and skill. The shark's skin is notoriously tough, and the muscle beneath is dense and fibrous. Cutting through these layers demands not only a sharp blade, but also the right technique, one that has been refined over generations. The butchers work in teams, circling the massive body, each man focusing on a different section. They rotate positions, breaking the shark down into manageable pieces with practiced hands. Vast slabs of meat are carved, graded for quality, and stacked on tarps, ready for market or preservation. The extraction of the liver is a delicate operation. The liver, rich in oil, is prized and must be removed intact. The butcher's hands are steady, ensuring the organ is not punctured or damaged. The entire operation, from first cut to final portion, is often completed in a remarkably short time. The urgency is driven by the need to get the valuable products ready for sale or preservation before the heat of the sun can spoil them. This tradition of beachside butchery is more than just a practical solution. It is a living link to the past. Each cut reflects a deep knowledge of the animal, a respect for its power and an understanding of its value. The experienced butcher can tell by touch and sight the subtle differences in meat texture, fat content, and quality. He knows exactly where to cut to cleanly remove cartilage, separating edible flesh from inedible parts with surgical precision. The process is almost ritualistic, each step performed with care and accuracy, echoing the methods of ancestors. The craft connects the fishermen and butchers directly to the end product, forging a bond between man and ocean. Through hands-on labor, a fearsome predator is transformed into a valuable commodity, ready for markets near and far. This raw, immediate and skillful transformation on the shoreline is a critical link in the chain that runs from the deep ocean to the global market, a testament to the enduring art and evolving tradition of shark processing. Far from the temperate waters where giant sharks are hunted for commercial profit, another story of human and marine megafauna unfolds in the frigid expanse of the Arctic. Here, the beluga whale, often called the white whale or canary of the sea for its vocalizations, holds a place of profound significance for indigenous peoples like the Inuit. For these communities, the beluga is not a commodity to be sold for thousands of dollars. It is the very foundation of their survival, culture, and traditions. The relationship is not one of commerce, but of deep ancestral connection, where the whale is a gift from the environment that sustains life in one of the world's harshest climates. For millennia, the Inuit and other Arctic peoples have relied on the beluga whale for essential resources. In a landscape where agriculture is impossible and vegetation is scarce, the whale provides a rich source of food and nutrients. The meat, known as maktak, sometimes called muktuk, which consists of the skin and a layer of blubber, is a vital part of the traditional diet, packed with vitamin C, omega-3 fatty acids, and the calories needed to endure the cold. This single food source has been instrumental in preventing malnutrition and disease in these communities for countless generations, making the annual whale hunt a matter of life and sustenance. The value of the beluga extends far beyond its role as a food source. Historically, every part of the whale was used, reflecting a philosophy of resourcefulness and respect for the animal. The thick layer of blubber was rendered down into oil, which provided fuel for lamps that lit and heated homes through the long, dark Arctic winters. The tough skin was used to make durable lines, waterproof boots, and coverings for boats, while the strong, dense bones were crafted into tools, sled runners, and the very framework of dwellings. In this way, the beluga whale was woven into the fabric of daily existence, providing not just food but also warmth, light, and the materials for shelter and transport. This reliance on the beluga has fostered a deep cultural and spiritual connection. The whale is often featured in sacred rituals, folklore, and community celebrations. The hunt itself is a communal event, steeped in tradition and governed by ancient customs that honor the spirit of the whale and give thanks for its sacrifice. Traditional knowledge passed down through generations of men is central to the survival of these communities. Inuit hunters possess an intimate understanding of beluga migration patterns, ice conditions, and weather, knowledge gained through careful observation and experience. They read the subtle signs in the sky, the movement of ice, and the behavior of animals to determine the best times and places for hunting. Survival strategies are rooted in cooperation, patience, and respect for the environment. Hunters work together using traditional kayaks and harpoons to approach the whales quietly and efficiently, minimizing waste and disturbance. Knowledge is shared through storytelling and hands-on teaching, ensuring that each generation is prepared for the challenges of Arctic life. This worldview stands in stark contrast to the commercial shark fishery. For the Inuit, the beluga is a respected relative, a partner in the cycle of life, not a product to be exploited. The ecological relationship between the Inuit and the beluga is one of balance. By taking only what is needed and honoring the animal, the community ensures the continued health of both the whale population and their own people. Its significance is measured not in dollars, but in the continued health, prosperity, and cultural identity of an entire people, bound together by knowledge, tradition, and respect for the beluga whale. The hunt for sharks is a practice governed by ancient traditions and a deep understanding of the animal's behavior. The hunting season is dictated by nature itself, typically occurring when the sharks migrate closer to the shorelines to feed and breed. This predictable migration is a critical time for coastal communities who gather for the communal effort. The hunt is not a spontaneous act, but a carefully planned event, guided by the wisdom of elders who have inherited knowledge passed down through countless generations about where and when to find the sharks. The hunt is steeped in ritual and respect. Before the hunters set out in their boats, prayers may be offered and ceremonies performed to honor the shark and the spirit of the ocean. This spiritual dimension is fundamental to the Indigenous worldview, which sees humans as part of a larger natural and spiritual order. The hunt is undertaken with a sense of humility and gratitude. It is believed that the shark gives itself to the hunter, and this gift must be received with respect. This philosophy ensures that the hunt is conducted not with aggression but with a focus on a quick and humane harvest, minimizing the animal's suffering and honoring its sacrifice. The hunting techniques themselves blend ancient skills with modern tools. Traditionally, a skilled harpooner, often positioned at the bow of a boat, would be responsible for the crucial first strike. The goal is to strike the shark in a vital area, such as the head or near the gills, to ensure a swift death and prevent a long drawn-out struggle. This precision is not only for humane reasons, but also for the safety of the hunters, as a wounded and panicked shark can easily capsize a small boat in the open ocean. While modern rifles may now be used alongside traditional harpoons, the core principles of skill, precision, and respect remain unchanged. Once a shark is successfully harvested, the entire community participates in processing the animal. The work is shared, reinforcing social bonds and ensuring that every family receives a portion of the meat. Modern machinery might make the process of hauling and butchering the shark faster and safer than in the past, but the underlying communal spirit persists. The successful hunt is a cause for celebration, a reaffirmation of cultural identity and a guarantee of sustenance for the coming season. The Indigenous way is a holistic system where the hunt, the harvest, and the sharing are all interwoven into a single vital cultural practice. The practice of whaling, whether for commercial profit, cultural tradition, or subsistence, remains one of the most fiercely debated environmental issues of the modern era. The controversy is rooted in a complex interplay of history, ethics, and ecology, with passionate arguments on all sides. The global community is deeply divided, with nations, organizations, and individuals holding sharply contrasting views. This division has created a tangled political landscape where compromise is rare and emotions often run high. At the heart of the debate stands the International Whaling Commission, established in 1946 to regulate whale stocks and prevent overexploitation. Initially, the IWC sought to balance the interests of whaling nations with the need for conservation, but as whale populations plummeted, its mission shifted. The 20th century saw industrial-scale hunting drive many great whale species to the brink of extinction. In response, the IWC imposed a global moratorium on commercial whaling in 1986, a move widely credited with saving several species from collapse. This ban is now a cornerstone of international marine conservation policy, celebrated by many as a triumph of global cooperation and environmental stewardship. Yet despite the moratorium, a handful of nations continue to hunt whales, citing tradition, science, or sovereignty. Countries such as Japan, Norway, and Iceland have long resisted the ban, exploiting legal loopholes or filing formal objections to maintain their whaling operations. Japan, for example, conducted whaling under the guise of scientific research, a provision allowed by the IWC, though the meat from these hunts almost always ended up in commercial markets. Critics argue that this practice undermined the spirit of the moratorium. In recent years, Japan withdrew from the IUC entirely, resuming explicit commercial whaling within its own territorial waters and further intensifying the debate. Pro-whaling nations argue that whaling is an integral part of their cultural heritage, passed down through generations. They claim that certain whale populations have recovered enough to support a limited, regulated hunt and that sustainable whaling can coexist with conservation. This position is fiercely opposed by the majority of IWC member nations and numerous environmental organizations. They argue that commercial whaling is inherently cruel, unnecessary in a world with abundant food alternatives, and poses an unacceptable risk to whale populations that are still recovering from past exploitation. Opponents also contend that the scientific justifications for modern whaling are weak, and that the practice belongs to a bygone era, one that should remain in the past as humanity's understanding of animal sentience and ecological balance evolves. These clashing viewpoints erupt annually at IWC meetings where debates over quotas, scientific permits and the very definition of conservation reveal a deep rift between pro- and anti-whaling factions. The result is often stalemate with little common ground. Caught in the middles of this global dispute are indigenous communities such as the Inuit of Greenland and Alaska, whose relationship with whales stretches back thousands of years. The IWC moratorium on commercial whaling makes a specific exception for Aboriginal subsistence whaling, recognizing that for these groups, hunting is a matter of cultural survival and food security, not commercial profit. Their hunts are typically small-scale and closely regulated. However, even these practices are subject to strict quotas and international scrutiny, with every hunt monitored to ensure sustainability. Indigenous hunters often find themselves defending their ancient traditions on a global stage, arguing that their sustainable harvests should not be conflated with the industrial-level commercial operations that once devastated whale populations. Their struggle is to preserve a way of life and maintain food security, all while navigating a polarized global debate that often overlooks the nuances of their situation. Ultimately, the debate over whaling is a reflection of broader questions about humanity's relationship with nature, the rights of cultures to maintain traditions, and the ethical responsibilities owed to sentient creatures. As science continues to reveal the intelligence and social complexity of whales, and as ecological concerns mount, the world remains at a crossroads, torn between the past and the future, tradition and conservation, survival and compassion. The intense economic pressure placed on species like sharks has led to a devastating ecological crisis, one that is now well documented by marine scientists worldwide. According to a 2013 study published in Marine Policy, an estimated 100 million sharks are killed each year, a rate that far exceeds their natural reproductive capacity. Many shark species, such as the oceanic whitetip and hammerhead, have seen population declines of over 90% in the past few decades. As apex predators, sharks play a crucial role in maintaining the health and balance of marine ecosystems. Their presence ensures the stability of food webs and the resilience of coral reefs. By regulating the populations of species below them in the food chain, sharks prevent the overpopulation of mid-level predators and maintain the diversity of marine life. For example, in the absence of sharks, populations of rays and smaller predatory fish can explode, leading to the collapse of shellfish stocks as seen in the North Atlantic. The removal of sharks creates a cascading effect, disrupting the delicate web of life that has evolved over millennia. A 2007 study in Science found that the loss of large sharks in the Northwest Atlantic led to the decline of bay scallops, as unchecked cow-nose ray populations decimated the scallop beds. The decline in shark populations presents a stark paradox. These creatures provide a livelihood for many fishing communities, yet over-exploitation is pushing them toward extinction. In some regions, the economic loss from depleted shark stocks has already begun to impact local fisheries. Many shark species are now facing a serious risk of decline, with some populations having plummeted by over 90%. The International Union for Conservation of Nature lists over 1/3 of all shark species as threatened or near threatened with extinction. This is not just a tragedy for the sharks themselves, but a threat to the long-term stability of the fisheries that depend on a healthy ocean. Case studies from the Gulf of Mexico and the Mediterranean Sea show that overfishing apex predators leads to the collapse of entire fisheries, resulting in economic hardship for coastal communities. When apex predators disappear, prey populations can explode, leading to overgrazing of seagrass beds or the decimation of smaller fish stocks. This phenomenon, known as a trophic cascade, ultimately harms the entire ecosystem and the human economies that rely on it. Similarly, beluga whale populations are facing grave threats, though from a different combination of pressures. Scientific monitoring in the Arctic has revealed that beluga numbers are declining in several regions. While indigenous subsistence hunting is generally considered sustainable at regulated levels, other human activities are taking a heavy toll. Industrial expansion and increased shipping traffic have introduced new risks to beluga populations. Climate change is rapidly altering their Arctic habitat, melting the sea ice they depend on for protection from predators and for foraging. The National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration reports that Arctic sea ice has declined by more than 40% since 1979. Increased maritime traffic in newly opened Arctic shipping lanes leads to noise pollution, which interferes with beluga communication and navigation, as well as a heightened risk of ship strikes. Studies have shown that chronic noise can disrupt beluga migration and breeding. Pollution from industrial runoff introduces toxins into their food chain, threatening their health and reproductive capabilities. High levels of mercury and PCBs have been detected in beluga tissues, raising concerns about long-term population viability. Several distinct beluga populations are now considered endangered, with some groups dwindling to just a few hundred individuals. The St. Lawrence Estuary beluga population, for example, has declined by more than 50% since the 1980s. The Cook Inlet beluga population in Alaska is critically endangered and shows little sign of recovery despite conservation efforts. Scientists warn that without significant intervention, extinction is a real possibility. Like sharks, the decline of belugas has wider ecological implications. As significant consumers of fish and invertebrates, their disappearance would alter the structure of the Arctic food web, potentially leading to unpredictable changes in ecosystem dynamics. The loss of belugas could result in the unchecked growth of certain fish populations, which in turn could impact the availability of resources for other marine species, further destabilizing the ecosystem. The plight of both sharks and belugas serves as a powerful warning about the consequences of human activity. Scientific evidence and real-world case studies make it clear. The pursuit of resources, whether for profit or through indirect environmental impact, threatens to erase these magnificent creatures from our oceans forever. The long-term impacts of overfishing and environmental degradation are not limited to the loss of individual species, but extend to the collapse of entire ecosystems and the livelihoods that depend on them. In the face of declining populations of sharks and whales, a global movement for their conservation has gained significant momentum. For sharks, efforts are focused on multiple fronts. International agreements like CITES, the Convention on International Trade in Endangered Species of Wild Fauna and Flora, now regulate or ban the trade of products from the most threatened shark species. Many countries have established shark sanctuaries within their territorial waters, creating vast protected areas where shark fishing is prohibited. Grassroots campaigns aim to reduce consumer demand for products like shark fin soup, educating the public about the ecological consequences of their choices and the cruelty of practices like finning. For whales, conservation strategies are equally multifaceted. The International Whaling Commission's moratorium remains the central pillar of protection for great whales, but additional measures are crucial. These include the establishment of marine protected areas that safeguard critical feeding and breeding grounds from human disturbance. Efforts are also underway to mitigate the threats of modern life, such as rerouting shipping lanes to avoid whale habitats and developing quieter ship technologies to reduce underwater noise pollution. These initiatives reflect a growing recognition that saving these species requires a holistic approach that addresses all the dangers they face in an increasingly industrialized ocean environment. A promising and sustainable alternative to harvesting these animals is the rise of ecotourism. Whale and shark watching have become booming global industries, generating billions of dollars annually and providing economic incentives for communities to protect these creatures rather than hunt them. A live whale or shark can be a recurring source of income for boat operators, guides, and local businesses for its entire lifespan, making it far more valuable alive than dead. This economic model offers a pathway where communities can prosper from their local marine life, transforming these animals from a one-time extractive resource into a long-term, renewable asset that supports conservation. However, the path forward is complicated by the need to balance conservation goals with the rights and traditions of indigenous cultures. While ecotourism offers an alternative in some regions, it is not always a viable or desired replacement for subsistence hunting, which is deeply tied to food security and cultural identity. The challenge lies in finding a middle ground. This requires respectful collaboration between scientists, conservationists, and indigenous communities to develop management plans that ensure the long-term survival of the species, while honoring and preserving ancient cultural practices. The future of these magnificent marine giants depends on our ability to navigate this complex intersection of ecology, economy, and culture with wisdom and foresight. To delve deeper into this issue, we spoke with marine biologist Dr. James Carter. Conservation efforts must be inclusive and consider the socio-economic realities of local communities. It's not just about saving species, but also about ensuring that people who depend on these resources can transition to sustainable practices. We also heard from Indigenous leader Chief Thomas, who emphasized the importance of cultural traditions. Our traditions are not just about survival, they are about identity and respect for nature. Any conservation plan must respect our way of life and include us in the decision-making process. The future outlook for shark and whale conservation hinges on this delicate balance. Experts agree that a collaborative approach is essential. By integrating scientific knowledge with traditional practices, we can create a sustainable future for both marine life and the communities that depend on them. The journey ahead is challenging, but with mutual respect and cooperation, we can ensure that these majestic creatures continue to thrive for generations to come. The journey of a single shark from the depths of the ocean to a bustling marketplace is both complex and revealing. The global shark trade network is vast, intertwining fishermen, middlemen, exporters, and international buyers. It all begins on remote fishing vessels, where sharks are caught, sometimes legally, sometimes in violation of international agreements. Once landed, the most valuable parts, primarily fins and in some cases meat, are separated and prepared for shipping. From there, the products enter a shadowy supply chain. In many regions, shark fins are dried and packed for export, often passing through several hands before reaching their final destination. Major trade hubs in Asia, Europe, and North America handle thousands of tons of shark products each year, feeding a demand driven by culinary traditions, medicinal uses, and status symbols. The economics of the trade are staggering. Shark fins can fetch hundreds of dollars per kilogram, incentivizing continued harvest despite growing restrictions. Meanwhile, shark meat, cartilage, and skin also find their way into global markets, though at lower price points. This trade sustains entire communities, but it also creates powerful incentives for illegal fishing and trafficking. Legally, the landscape is a patchwork. Some countries have implemented strict bans on shark finning and trade, while others lack enforcement or have loopholes that permit continued exploitation. International agreements like CITES attempt to regulate the trade, but enforcement varies widely, and illegal shipments frequently slip through the cracks. Logistically, the network is sophisticated. Shipments are often mislabeled or routed through countries with lax oversight, making tracking and prosecution difficult. Inspections at ports and markets are sporadic, and traffickers exploit every opportunity to evade detection. This global trade, with its intricate web of economic incentives and regulatory challenges, lies at the heart of ongoing debates about shark conservation. Understanding the full scope of the network is essential for crafting solutions that address not only ecological concerns, but also the livelihoods that depend on this controversial industry. While the global shark trade presents daunting challenges, a new wave of innovation is reshaping the future for these ancient predators. Technological advancements in shark tracking and conservation are providing scientists and policymakers with unprecedented insights into shark behavior, migration, and population health. At the heart of this revolution is satellite tagging. Researchers carefully attach small, high-tech transmitters to the dorsal fins of sharks, allowing real-time tracking as they traverse thousands of miles across open oceans. Each ping from a tagged shark feeds into global databases, painting a dynamic picture of migratory routes, breeding grounds, and critical habitats. This flood of data is then analyzed using powerful algorithms and machine learning, revealing patterns that were once invisible. Scientists can now predict where sharks are most at risk from fishing fleets or environmental changes, guiding targeted conservation efforts with pinpoint accuracy. International cooperation is also on the rise. Shared data platforms connect research teams from different countries, fostering collaboration and a unified approach to shark protection. These partnerships are crucial in monitoring transboundary species and enforcing conservation zones that span international waters. The integration of technology into conservation is turning the tide. With every tagged shark and every shared data point, the world moves closer to balancing ecological preservation with the realities of global trade. Through innovation and cooperation, there is hope that the giants of the sea will continue to roam the oceans for generations to come. Along the windswept shores where the sea meets the land, local fishing communities have thrived for generations. Here, tradition is more than memory. It is a way of life, passed from father to son, echoing in every net cast and every boat launched before dawn. Meet Ivan, whose weathered hands have hauled nets since he was a boy. For him and his peers, fishing is not just a livelihood, it is the heartbeat of the village. Each morning the men gather at the docks, exchanging stories, reading the waves, and preparing to face the unpredictable temperament of the sea. Yet the tides are changing. Modern regulations, designed to protect dwindling fish populations, now shape every decision. Quotas restrict catches, and new gear requirements demand adaptation. For many, these rules are a double-edged sword, essential for the future but a challenge for age-old ways. Through in-depth interviews, the fishermen share their struggles and their hopes. Some recount how they have learned to use sustainable methods, combining ancestral knowledge with modern science. Others speak of hardship, shrinking hauls, rising costs, and the pressure to provide for their families. Despite the challenges, a spirit of resilience endures. The men form cooperatives, advocate for fair policies, and work with conservationists to ensure that their way of life can coexist with a healthy ocean. Their stories are a testament to adaptation and perseverance, proof that even as the world changes, the bond between community and sea remains unbroken. As the planet warms, the world's oceans are undergoing dramatic transformations. For sharks, ancient predators that have ruled the seas for millions of years, these changes spell both challenge and uncertainty. Rising ocean temperatures disrupt established migration routes, forcing many shark species to venture into unfamiliar waters. Scientists have documented how once predictable patterns now shift year by year. Take the great white shark. Traditionally found in temperate waters, sightings are becoming more frequent in regions previously too cold for their survival. Researchers use satellite tags to track these journeys, revealing migrations that stretch farther and last longer than ever before. Warmer seas also affect the availability of prey, altering the delicate balance of marine ecosystems. In the Gulf of Mexico, for example, hammerhead sharks have been observed moving northward, following the shifting blooms of baitfish. Meanwhile, coral reef sharks face habitat loss as rising temperatures bleach and degrade their homes. These changes not only threaten the survival of individual species, but also ripple through the entire food web. By drawing on real-world data and first-hand observations, scientists are piecing together the new map of shark migrations in a changing climate. Their findings underscore a stark reality. As the sea transforms, so too must its most iconic inhabitants. As humanity's relationship with the ocean grows ever more complex, the act of harvesting sharks sits at the center of profound ethical debate. For some, shark fishing is a centuries-old practice, an essential means of survival woven deeply into cultural and spiritual identity. For others, it is an industry fraught with moral questions, raising concerns about cruelty, sustainability, and the right of humans to exploit a fellow apex predator. Philosophers grapple with the question, do sharks possess intrinsic value beyond their role in ecosystems or economies? Should their intelligence, social behaviors, and vulnerability to overexploitation grant them a special moral status? These debates play out in academic journals and policy forums alike as ethicists weigh the rights of species against the needs of human communities. Cultural perspectives add further complexity. In some regions, shark harvesting is governed by ancient customs, respected taboos, and rituals that honor the animal. Elsewhere, it is driven by global demand for fins, meat, and cartilage, commodities traded across continents, often with little regard for tradition or conservation. Legal frameworks attempt to bridge these divides, but they, too, are riddled with contradictions. International treaties ban certain shark products, while local laws might permit regulated harvests. Enforcement varies widely, and illegal, unreported and unregulated fishing remains a persistent threat. The result is a tangled web of philosophy, culture and law, each strand pulling in different directions, each perspective offering its own vision of what is just. In the end, the ethical dilemmas surrounding shark harvesting remind us that the choices we make at sea reflect the values we hold on land. As we chart a course into the future, these moral questions will continue to shape the fate of sharks and our own place within the natural world.